Today, I'm going to take you on a journey of courage, a journey of mateship, of confidence, and of sacrifice. The year is 2010, and I embarked on my first trip overseas to Papua New Guinea to experience what our soldiers experienced during World War II, the Kokoda Track. 96 kilometres through the New Guinean forests, through rivers, and up and down daunting mountains. I was part of a youth program, and myself and my 20-man team had just spent the year prior training together every week. We arrived in New Guinea at the beginning of summer, before it got too hot, and yet our efforts were in vain. Exiting the plane, we were confronted by a visible wall of heat, and we all started sweating immediately. I'd never felt this level of heat back home. When we reached the start of the track, we were reminded by our youth leaders of what we were about to undertake and what our soldiers had to endure back in the war. Imagine being constantly hunted and shot at by the enemy while trekking through uncharted terrain, having to carry your injured friends. Imagine carrying the weight of your backpack and your weaponry in that intense heat. All myself and my team though, all we could think about was just how hot it was and how steep this first hill looked. Our journey through the track took us through several villages, all of which were really welcoming and friendly. The locals' faces were just beaming at the sight of us. Or maybe they were just trying to sell us their overpriced snacks. The village itself was sparse and minimalistic. That is to say, there was nothing there, just a couple of wooden huts. The food was much the same. Lots of canned meat and local fruit. Very different from Mum's cooking, which I definitely took for granted. Sorry, Mum. How the locals lived was completely different from what I experienced back home. No phone, no internet, and no TV, not even a comfortable bed. Back home, I would be lost without all of these. Reminders of the war were dotted throughout the track at various points. Off on a side track, a Japanese bomber was left unceremoniously in this crater, and yet the foliage surrounding it had been cut back and maintained, almost as if we were encouraged to remember how close we came to a completely different present. Several shrines and grave sites devoted to various soldiers were pointed out to us by our guides. I remember a few of the graves marked the resting place of soldiers who were as old as I was at the time. How glad I was to not be born during a time of war, especially after seeing some of my teammates break down at some of these sites. Finishing the track, I was left with an immense sense of accomplishment, and yet a new appreciation for the simple things in my life that I had previously taken for granted. Home cooking, the internet, a soft, clean bed. But most of all, living in a peaceful time, without war. So, my moral for you to take away from this story is, never take anything for granted, especially the simple things.